Welcome to the first ever episode of the Tiny House Club. It's always rocking in the Tiny House Club. Well, actually it's not, you'll see at the end. Okay, so I've just spent 2.5 months fabricating my tiny house trailer. It's now finished, which is so nice. I can move on to the next stage of the project, which is going to be so much more pleasant than steel fabrication. I thought I'd do this way around just because, you know, I can kind of offer you a little bit of insight maybe as to how to go about building a tiny house trailer. Hopefully it's informative. I've never done this before, though I do have a mechanical engineering background, building background. I've welded before, some fabrication and some industrial fitting background also. So the first thing I would say, if you're a DIYer and you're thinking to build a tiny house trailer, don't do it. Even for me, I found this project extremely complex. There were so many things to deal with. Also, the fact that I'm not a steel fabrication shop. I'm just in a tiny workshop in Paniceri, in Bulgaria somewhere. It's very beautiful, but you know, I don't have gantry hoists. I don't have flat surfaces to work on, things like this. So it was a huge challenge just for myself, and also the heat distortion, building something 8 meters long when you're welding, you're only one welder. It's difficult. You overcome heat distortion with 2 welders, one on either side. But just one person, it becomes very tricky. You've got to rotate your steel super quick to even out the heat both sides. So it's been a learning curve for me. Fortunately, everything came out perfect. And, you know, I'd like to say thank you very much to Timmy, for helping me with the build in the very, very first welds on the 8-meter chassis section lengths, which, again, were impossible for me. My back is broken, by the way, from all this lifting. After 10 weeks of lifting, it's craziness. And I'd also like to say thanks to Abby Bush. Nice one, boy, for all your help in it. Brilliant. So, you know, I really hope you enjoy what I've filmed. Some of it's crazy, some of it's, I've been working till midnight and I'm quite drunk. So it's all a little bit different, and hopefully you'll get an insight as to what goes into building a trailer of this magnitude. Like I say, it all came out fantastic. I'm extremely happy with the way everything's ended, and I'm also extremely excited about looking forward to actually now doing the nice build, decent stuff. So, welcome to the Tiny House Club, where I'm constructing a 100% off-grid tiny house, and yeah, I think it's going to be something really, really different. I'm looking for ultra-modern rainwater collection system, 100% solar, the whole shaboo. So, I really hope you enjoy. So, here's episode 1 of the trailer build. Tiny house building rocks, innit? Welcome to the very first episode of my tiny house on wheels build. I started this project a few weeks ago, and the first thing I did was I took a 7.5-ton truck body curtain sider off my truck. Started to strip it down, cut it apart to pieces, only to discover that it has far too much flex and I'd have to build a chassis to mount the chassis on, which just seemed absolutely stupid. The other downside as well was that this is only 6 meters long, which isn't really long enough. You know, you could just about get living space in it, but not enough. So I aborted this, and all I'm left with is a perfectly good curtain-sided truck body cut down to a flatbed, which now I've got to painstakingly put back on the truck as a flatbed. So I went to plan B. Plan B was to start constructing the trailer myself. I'm about 5 days in on this now. I've got 120 by 60 main chassis rails in 4mm steel, 8 meters long, 2.4 meters wide. Yesterday, I welded on and fabricated these outriggers, and they're just tacked in place at the moment. Everything's waiting for its seam welding. And today, I'm going to put all the cross members into that and get that mounted up. It's going to go on 2 1,800 kilogram knot axles, which I have, and also a 3.5-ton knot tow hitch. Obviously it will be braked at this weight. And I came up with a bit of a genius idea. I'm extremely worried about nose weight and balancing it, because the calculations, I mean, how the hell do you know what you're going to pull in your tiny house?
how do you work out the weights? You know, do you spend weeks making a spreadsheet, buying all your materials first? It's a very difficult situation. I think everybody's a little bit confused by it. So yesterday morning, I spent a lot of time working out where to mount my axles, obviously just a little bit back from centre. But still, nose weight is a big issue. So I came up with an idea. We've been living off-grid now for 5 years odd, so obviously we understand that battery capacity is an important thing. So we'll be going probably with 4 220 amp AGM batteries. So obviously mounting them in the tiny house was kind of an issue also. But I came up with an idea yesterday, which I think is pretty good. Let me know in your comments if you've got anything to say about it. I'm all up for ideas. What I'm going to do is, where the axles sit, I'm going to build steel wheel arches, which will also act as like Z-bracing, because torsion axles create a massive amount of stress on your chassis, unlike leaf springs. So I'm actually going to build steel wheel arches, out-of-box section also, which will act as Z-bracing over the top. But I will have somewhere between 1.5 and 1.6 metres over the wheel arches. So my idea is to mount the batteries over the top of the wheel arches to either side, because this is dead space anyway. You can't mount anything like a floor standing refrigerator or any kind of appliance, dishwasher or anything like that into this space. It's not possible because you don't have the depth to push back because of the wheel arches. So what I decided to do is I've decided to mount 2 batteries on either side. I've got 1.5 metres there. The batteries, 2 batteries end on end, or 1 metre. So that gives me a lot of room to be able to slide the batteries either direction on both sides to balance the nose weight, or to help to balance the nose weight a little bit. So as the build progresses, and obviously I equalise everything out as much as possible, that should also give me a little bit of nose weight adjustment, if you like. Hey, and there we go. That's the first episode of my tiny house build.